and thank you to everyone for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time to participate, and we're glad to see such strong representation from both the home building industry and the local building departments across the Denver metro area. Purpose of today's webinar is to provide a clear look at the evolving code landscape and the implications of recent and upcoming code changes. As many of you are aware, decisions around code adoption have meaningful impacts on construction costs, project feasibility, and housing attainability. So we're trying to provide a little bit of insight and help address some of the questions and concerns that are on everyone's mind. We're going to start today off with presentations from NAHB, who are going to walk through the 2024 IRC, as well as providing us with a breakdown on the cost impacts associated with the new state energy codes that are coming to us soon. Following that, we'll shift to a regional perspective, taking a look at where local jurisdictions stand on code adoption, key timing considerations tied to state requirements, and other emerging issues that municipalities and builders are working through. During the presentations, we ask that you mute yourself and that you save all of your questions until the end. We are saving time at the end after all of the presentations for Q&A, but if something comes to mind in the meantime, feel free to drop those into the chat box and we'll get to them at the end. And with that, I will throw it over to Jeff to take it away.
All right, thank you. Thanks for inviting us to come talk about some of the changes between the 21 and the 24 IRC. See if you could jump to the next slide.
There we go.
All right, so my name is Jeff Munsterteiger. I'm a program manager in construction codes and standards for the National Association of Home Builders. Just a quick brief bio. I have more than 20 years experience starting as a builder remodeler that was licensed in Minnesota. And from there, I moved into building inspector, plans examiner, code official roles before I So NAHB, of course, we're a member-driven organization, 140,000 plus members strong, building, designing, and supplying primarily single-family homes, but there is also a number of members that build and manage multifamily building projects. And of course, we have a fairly large remodeler contingent. Those members are divided across 700 plus affiliated state and local associations that are across the United States. Next slide. So my portion of the presentation today, I'm going to focus on changes to the building code between the 21 and the 24. I did take a high level look at some of the more recent Denver amendments with the 25 Denver adoption. I have a couple items there that I will kind of highlight and focus on. And then following me will be my colleague, Nathan Kahre, who will talk about the energy code provisions. Next slide. So just a little history of the IRC or the I codes in general. So the model codes are adopted or updated rather at the national level on a 3-year cycle. So we are just, we're 2 years into that 3-year cycle. The public comment hearing will be finishing this spring. That will complete the development of the 2027 I code, which will then be published and available for adoption. So I did a little research. It looks like, so Denver adopted what's being called the 2025 Denver Building and Fire Codes. They are incorporating the 2024 Model I codes, except for, I think, energy. And it looked like previously it was the 2022 that adopted the 21 IRC. Next slide. So NAHB members and staff through various committees and oversight groups are heavily involved in the development of the national model codes. We do publish significant changes documents, suggested amendment documents following the publication of each code, and we also conduct cost studies for the significant changes. Our significant changes and our cost studies aren't limited just to building an energy code. We also do some of the same work for the NEC, and all of that is available on our website. And I'll have some links to the resources at the end of my part of the presentation. Next slide, please. All right, so a couple bigger things that might seem to have a broader impact. So the first is IRC Chapter 3 underwent a very significant reorganization. So pretty much every section of the IRC Chapter 3 has been moved and renumbered. So it's now organized in a bit of a more logical order. Starts with the structural provisions, the design provisions, then it moves into fire resistance, fire and CO detection, fire sprinklers, and then it gets into your room layouts, means of egress, indoor environment, with on-site energy and solar and that sort of thing at the end. Next slide, please. Also completely reorganized were the appendices. I did not look to see, I believe you might adopt one or two of the IRC appendices. So just know that they've been completely relayed out. They've been renumbered. They're now grouped in sections A, B, and C. A is appendices of administrative provisions. Group B is more of your planning and construction. C is mechanical, electrical, plumbing. So if you've had any things, hyperlinked or documents, pre-filled out with code sections, that sort of thing, you'll need to definitely redo most of those. Next slide, please. So when I looked at the Denver amendments, there were two things I saw that jumped out to me that I think might be, impactful, and a couple ways to manage them. So the first is I saw that the default ground snow load changed in table 301.2 in the design criteria from 35 to 43 PSF. That seems like a big change. However, a couple things of note. It also provides a footnote that allows you to use the ASCE7 hazard tool to find a more site-specific ground snow load. The QR code I have at the bottom of the next couple of slides will take you to the ASCE7 hazard tool. Next slide, please. So I'm going to briefly kind of just show how that tool works. So you can do an address level search. If the address is not currently populated there, you can also, find it with a pin on a map. You can use a latitude, longitude, a couple ways to get there. The things you need to validate that you're doing correctly is when you're in the hazard tool, these boxes will be stacked on the left side margin. I'm just showing them side by side here for the sake of the slide. You want to first make sure that you're using ASCE 7-22 so that you're using the proper version standard or standard version. You want to make sure that you're in risk category 2 because that is the one that would cover IRC residential buildings. And then if you're looking for snow load, you can just check the snow load box and then you would click the view. And if you notice here, the snow load that it shows says 54 pounds. So the thing you want to do next is click that details button, which is going to open the box that I'm showing to the right here. That will be a pop-up. And if you notice at the bottom, the ground snow load for residential is 37.8. So actually for this specific address that I searched, which was like the Denver City Hall, it's actually very close to what you were previously. So I think using the hazard tool is going to be your best way to mitigate that from a design perspective. Next slide, please. The change, if you're using a performance-based design, isn't going to be as big an impact. This is sort of the Geek Squad summary of how this whole progression of these changes happened. This actually started back with the 2016 version of ASCE 7. There was some change in the methodology of the snow loads, but there's also been some change in how the resulting snow load is factored. So if you're familiar with performance-based design, there's some adjustment factors that you apply. Previously, you adjusted it by multiplying it times 1.6. Now you multiply it times 1. So in the end, the jump isn't as big as you might expect it to be. Using the hazard tool, of course, will help mitigate. If you just use the tabular ground snow load, you're going to be in a different design table throughout the IRC. So IRC hazard tool, or ASCE 7 hazard tool rather, I think will be your best option. Next slide, please. Also changed is the map for the special wind regions in the IRC. So the lines have been redrawn with that in the 22 version. So the updated map is a little bit more of it's more accurate as far as where that boundary should be. It's important to note that the wind speeds themselves have not changed. However, the wind speed you might be required to use depending on where you're located could change. And wind speeds are also available in the hazard tool. So that would be a way you can obtain those without using the map. Next slide, please. Couple changes in chapter 3 regarding landings for stairways. Garage interior landings at doors can now be the landing can be up to 7 3/4 inches below the door's threshold, similar to what's been permitted at the required egress door. A top landing is not required for stairway landing is when that stairway is at an exterior door. And where you have a stairway with 3 or fewer risers that's not serving the required egress door, you only need a 36-inch wide landing at the bottom, regardless of the width of the stairway. Next slide, please. If you are involved in remodeling in existing buildings, there's a new section added here that if you're reworking a stairway, you are no longer required to comply with the requirements for new stairways when you're in a situation where the existing space or construction doesn't allow for the reduction in stairway pitch or slope. So again, that's only applicable in a remodeling situation when you wouldn't have the space to otherwise comply. Next slide, please. Table 405.1, soil classification. So there's been a slight change there. It now includes a reference to a USDA soil data and textual description. So if you're on a site and you don't know the type of soil and you don't have access to a geotechnical evaluation, this might be one method to obtain that for your specific site. So the QR code I have here will link you to the database, the website database. I didn't go into the use of that database. It's a relatively slow-moving website. It's probably not the most user-intuitive, but just know that that's a change. Next slide, please. A couple other changes. There are now some technical prescriptive provisions requiring splices in horizontal framing members to occur over their supporting member. That's not something you see often, but if you aren't able to comply with that, you would need to have those connections designed by a registered design professional. That is a requirement in the code now. Next slide, please. Floor framing supporting guards. So when you are building a opening in a floor at a stairway or a balcony overlook like you might see in a loft or something like that, when the floor framing is going to be used to support the rotational forces of the guard at that edge, there are now prescriptive options in the code that are going to require that apply to how you build that. Those prescriptive requirements are limited to conventional and timber framing. So if you're using floor trusses and I-joists, those specific design requirements have to be accounted for in the design. So it's an item when you're working with your truss. Providing that. Next slide, please. Change that rolled back from the 2021 The requirement to put a 10 mil vapor retarder complying with ASTM Class A requirements has been rolled back to the previous language, so you can go back to using a 6 mil just construction grade polyethylene underneath your floor slabs. Next slide, please. Jumping to building exterior requirement, there are now some prescriptive requirements for deck ledgers that are added in Section 507. One thing to note is the water resistive barrier now needs to be continuous behind your deck ledger and needs to lap over, the vertical leg of a ledger flashing. There is an exception if you space the ledger off the building. That's a prescriptive method to do that in the IRC. But just know that you now need to make sure you have weather resistant barrier behind your deck flashings. Next slide, please. In Section 602, wall heights for wood framing, there are a change in definitions. So story height, the term story height was changed to wall height, and there were a few errors provided in the adjustment factors. So if you're familiar with some of the older language, the way it was handled, this reverts back to a more traditional way of looking at it, so that the methods are tied to the height of the wall, not so much the height of the story itself. Next slide, please. And then one change in the mechanical section, M1411 now has some specific allowances for the use of the new A2L refrigerants. Those are, my understanding, becoming more commonplace. So the code is accommodating that. Next slide, please. So with regards to the changes to the IRC provisions, those are the most significant. Now, there's two potential resources here. The one on the left is the NAHB code adoption kit. That's a free resource. My presentation was largely based on that. This website that takes you to is also the location that you'll find our cost estimates, our suggested amendments, all of that sort of stuff. And I think if you hit the next slide button, I think there was a, yes, thank you. And on the right, so the ICC also publishes a significant changes document. This requires purchase, or you have to have a digital subscription. This document will take you literally to every potential code change, big or small. I mean, if a section was renumbered, it will define that. So just know that that's out there as a resource. And then next slide. If you have any questions that you don't ask today, that you'd like to follow up on, the QR code on this slide will take you to my email address. My email address is above there. QR code, of course, will save you from having to figure out how to spell Munsterteiger. And with that, I will turn it over to my colleague, Nathan Kahre. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm Nathan Kahre. We'll go to the next slide. Hi, I'm Nathan Kahre. I'm a senior program manager at NAHB. I focus on energy codes. I may know, at least I think I saw some familiar names. I actually previously worked for Thrive Home Builders and Energy Logic here in Colorado. So I've seen firsthand what building on the Front Range looks like, and I'm here to talk about some of the energy code changes that you're going to be facing. Next slide, please. So briefly, what I'm going to talk about, we'll start with national changes, looking at what's going on in the 2024 IECC. Then we'll do some comparing the Colorado Model Low Energy Carbon Code. And then finally, we'll talk about some estimated cost impacts from adopting either of these codes. Next slide, please. So again, why are we starting with the 2024 IECC? It's because it's our latest model energy code, and because the MLECC, the Model Low Energy Carbon Code, is based off of the 2024 IECC with some amendments that will impact adaptability and cost. Move in, next slide. Like Jeff mentioned, we've got at NAHB, we've got code adoption kits for both the IRC as well as we've broken out the energy code because this can be such a hot topic. So the QR code I've shown will take you to this page, which has our 2024 and 2021 IECC adoption kits, as well as all of the IRC and NEC code adoption kits. Next slide. And if you'll just keep clicking through to get all of this. In the 2024 IECC code adoption kit, you'll see some significant changes. A cost analysis, which is where the majority of the cost impacts that we're going to talk about later come from. Much more detailed, much more broken down. There's a list of suggested amendments showing some of the areas where we think the 2024 IECC can be approved. And then also one of the key areas is that the 2024 IECC includes a significant number of appendices. And so want to just give some information about those appendices and things to be aware of before considering their adoption. Next slide. And again, this is what that suggested amendment document looks like. Some of the key things is that we're making some both administrative changes as well as a few technical changes, such as allowing for offsite renewable energy, allowing for some coordination between new construction and additions. Not as important for Colorado, but adding a slab edge insulation exception for when you're in a high termite area, and a few other items going on from there. Next slide, please. So some of the key information about the 2024 IECC, it is expected to be anywhere from 7 to 8% more efficient than the 2021, with the 2021 being, I believe, between 8 and 9% more efficient than the 2018. So we've seen some large jumps in these last few code cycles. Key things about the 2024 that we like over the 2021, there's some improved design flexibility, realignment of some of the insulation requirements, and some better choices for performance, design, and compliance. So one of the key things that I like to talk about with the 2024 is that while it is more efficient, it allows for a lot more flexibility. So you might end up seeing cost savings in the 2024 compared to the base 2021 IECC. Next slide, please. So some of the key changes, there are a lot of changes in this code. I'm not going to go through all of them. We'd be here for about 2 hours, but I just want to talk about some of the key ones that are going to impact Colorado. So let's go to this next slide. The first one is R408. This is the big change. So in the 2021, this was introduced. This has been expanded and changed dramatically in the 2024. So basically, if you're following the prescriptive path, what is set up is saying you follow the prescriptive requirements, and then you do this R408. It's additional efficiency features. So you're giving a list of 51 potential measures that you could pick from. And for each measure, you can get a specific number of credits per climate zone. Each home must achieve a minimum of 10 credits and implement at least 2 measures. This is an area where there's amendments in the model low energy carbon code in Colorado, where that credit number is being adjusted based on your conditioned floor area. So let's go to the next slide. And again, going back to previous codes, credits didn't exist in the 2018. The 2021 started to introduce this, but it just gave you this list of 5 options, not a lot to choose from. And some of those requirements left you with some conflicting requirements that maybe didn't work as well, such as the more efficient HVAC equipment, 95 AFUE furnace, that's going to bring significant savings in Colorado, but a 16 SEER AC, not as much. So the next iteration of this R408 really gives a lot more flexibility and allows you to make choices that are going to best serve the customer. Next slide. So how does this work? What does it look like? This is just an example of what you'll see in this table. So you can see you have a list of measures going down the right side, and then credits based on your climate zone. Just a quick reminder for everyone, most of the range is in climate zone 5. And then as you get into the mountains, you'll see climate zone 6 and 7. So this is just one example, high performance cooling option 2. That does not tell you very much about what that credit is, so you have to go down into the text below. If you'll do one click, Albert, please. You'll see that there is more information about each of these measures and what does that mean. So high performance cooling option 2 means a 16 SEER air conditioner, which you would only get 1 credit for in Colorado. On to the next slide, please. Just an example of what this looks like in climate zone 6. We've picked 2 measures. One is 100% ducts in conditioned space. We're assuming this is a home on a basement. So you've got your furnace and AC down in the basement. You're running ducts up into the first, second floor. More feasible to get all your ducts in conditioned space than maybe a ranch that's a slab on grade. So you can get 9 credits for that in Climate Zone 6. You can also get another credit for installing a demand responsive thermostat. So that look through, yeah, and this is just telling more of the details about what it takes to get those credits. Keep moving through. I want to make sure we're not taking up too much time. Yeah, keep going. Yep. So you'll see 9 credits for ducts, 1 credit for the thermostat, 10 credits overall. There are a lot of different options and pathways in R408. This is going to be an area where you're going to have to spend some time looking and identifying what's going to work best for you, your build process, and what's going to work best for your customer. So moving on to the next change is ceiling insulation. One more click, Albert. So what we saw in 2018 IECC is that in climate zones 4 through 7, the ceiling insulation was R49. That's been typical, been in the code for a while. In the 2021 IECC, this jumped up to R60. And unless your local jurisdiction amended it out, that was R60. And then one of the key changes in the 2024 was a realignment of this, a recognition that to be cost effective for the majority of homes in those climate zones, so it went back down to R49. This is a key change and a win that reduced the cost of construction, so we are happy to see it, and I'm going to keep fighting for more changes like this. Next slide, please. One of the other changes is wall insulation requirements. So in the 2021, there was this bump in climate zones 4 and 5 to R20 plus 5. And adding that inch of continuous insulation can be a challenge and a key issue to accomplish. So one of the things that was allowed in the 2024 is an alternate pathway under the prescriptive path to get back to an R20 wall assembly. So if you'll go to the next slide, the base code requirements, this is a little jumbled, that's fine, are R20 plus 5, 13 plus 10, 20 continuous, or an R30 cavity. You can install R20 if you do one of the following. Click through. You can get 3 credits from R408, so going from 10 to 13 credits. That allows you to offset that energy savings on the wall with things like more efficient equipment, more efficient appliances, lighting, etc. You can also install a heat pump space heater or heat pump water heater. And so that allows a direct trade-off. Or you can install renewable energy solar on top of there. And that's something like a watt per square foot of conditioned space. So it ends up being a pretty reasonable amount of solar to make that trade-off as well. All right, going on to the next slide. The last thing, while there are many, don't want to talk about all of them, is that the requirements for heat and energy recovery ventilators have been shifting farther and farther down. In the 2018 IECC, there was no requirement in any climate zone. In the 2021, there was a requirement to install these for ventilation in climate zone 7 and 8. And then in the 2024, this was added to climate zone 6. So you'll see that more and more in the mountain regions in Colorado. It's also included as an option in R408 that you can install an ERV or do some more enhanced air sealing to get some credits there. So it is an option, but not a mandatory requirement. Keep moving on. Last, the performance path has been updated. One of the key things is that there was an expansion in trade-offs. So what has previously not been allowed under the performance path is making trade-offs based on heating and cooling equipment, water heating equipment, or duct location. This is all going to be allowed now. So you're going to have some more flexibility under this path if you're working with a rater trying to do this modeling work. This is going to give you some more flexibility when you're comparing the whole energy consumption from the house. Next slide. And then also the ERI path has been updated. There was a 5% penalty under the 2021 that just didn't really make sense. And then also the opportunity to use solar in the ERI has been added. So if you go to the next slide, you'll see you end up under the 2024 to have two potential ERI thresholds. The first one is without OPP. OPP stands for on-site power production. So this would be just based on the efficiency of the home itself. These are the credit thresholds. And so what you'll see in climate zones 4, 5, 6, and 7 is that there's small adjustments between the 2021 and 2024. We're talking maybe a point on the ERI. And then you have the other column that is with OPP. So this is using solar, not using a ton of solar, but a reasonable amount that would allow you to reduce that ERI and then also make some trade-offs. Moving. So want to briefly talk about the Colorado MLECC. It is based off the 2024 IECC. So you would look at complying with the 2024 and then some of the new requirements under the MLECC. The two main ones that I'm going to talk about are key requirements for electric ready features, especially in mixed fuel homes. And then there's these thresholds based on home size, and this will become more clear once we're talking about it from a cost perspective. So the key requirements for electric ready would include PV ready, which is a requirement for all homes, electric vehicle ready, which is a requirement for all homes, and then under the other electric ready requirements, you would see an electric ready for requirement if you installed a natural gas stove, a natural gas dryer, a natural gas water heater, or a natural gas furnace. All of those, the code includes requirements to pre-wire for a future electric piece of equipment as the state pushes for all electric homes. The other pieces that thresholds are going to be based on home size. I said in the 2024, R408 was a minimum of 10 credits. That stays true if your home is under 5,000 square feet. If you go to this 5,000 to 7,500 square feet, you will see that as bumping up to 15 credits. And one of the key things to notice here is that this is not finished square footage. I should have marked that more clearly. It's conditioned floor area. So if you, let's say, have a 4,000 square foot home that's got a 2,000 square foot footprint and it's over an unfinished basement, boom, you likely have 6,000 square feet of conditioned floor area and you are bumped into these larger requirements. So that's just something to be aware of and something that's going to impact your compliance costs. Let's go on to the next one. Going to walk through some cost estimates. And again, one of the key things, this is based on research from Home Innovation Research Labs and their 2024 IECC cost impact report. It is going to be broken down by climate zone. And so I have this map of Colorado. You'll see the majority of the front range is in climate zone 5. And then as you start to peak up into the mountains, you'll see in the lower parts, you'll be in climate zone 6 and then higher peaks up in climate zone 7 in that purple. And then there's a small part in the southeast part of the state that is climate zone 4. But just focusing on, I would say, let's focus on climate zone 5 since that's where the majority of the people and construction is going on. Go through here. So you'll see the first comparison that I'm making is what is it going to cost to go from the 2018 IECC to this new model low energy carbon code. We're looking at two different types of home, one that's using all electric equipment and another that is using mixed fuel equipment, so a gas water heater and a gas furnace. And you'll see that this is going to end up in climate zone 5 anywhere from $8,500 to about $7,000 a home. This is a significant impact. And looking at information from the Colorado Energy Office, there's still plenty of municipalities and especially counties in the Front Range that are still on the 2018. So jumping to this MLECC is going to be a large jump and have a significant impact. Go on to the next slide. The next one is looking at the 2021 IECC to the MLECC. And so because the MLECC is based on the 2024 IECC that has some insulation realignments and some flexibility, there might potentially be some cost savings. Now, I will say this will vary based on your home size, your geometry, your selected equipment, everything. But we're seeing less of an impact in climate zone 4 and 5. And that is because of some of the significant savings associated with the 2024 IECC. The next thing I wanted to look at is what's the cost impact to go from the 2024 to the MLECC. Next slide. And this is for small homes that are under that 2020 or under that 5,000 square foot threshold. And you're seeing around $1,500 to $3,000 on the mixed fuel homes. That is significantly more. These are not climate zone specific requirements. These are just base requirements that are across every home, and so they're consistent across all climate zones. But you're seeing the cost of that, electric ready requirements making a big impact. And then if we go to the next slide, you'll see this 5,000 to 7,000 square foot. This is a cost to get 5 additional credits to go from 10 to 15 and make that jump. And so you see anywhere. So that's it for me. And I'll say just as a precursor, a lot of these costs are based on national estimates. Your local costs are likely to vary. But if you'd like more information about where these costs are coming from, what key changes we're looking at, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to give you the information we used to develop this. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Nathan and Jeff, for your presentations. Now we'll hop into the local side. For those that don't know me, my name is Albert Bazzoki. I'm the Government Affairs Coordinator here at the HBA of Metro Denver. And to kick things off, I want to set the stage for the broader code landscape that we're kind of heading into. This portion of the webinar is going to focus on what municipalities across the Denver metro area are doing with respect to the 2024 I codes, as well as fire sprinkler requirements and state code adoption dates to be mindful of. I'll walk you through who has already adopted, who is planning to adopt, and who has indicated that they're not moving forward at this time. All of the information that I will be covering here is current as of yesterday. So that would be January 20th, 2026. And this information all reflects what municipalities have shared with myself and with the HBA. Before we get into the local code adoptions, I want to flag some important timing considerations related to state code adoption requirements. Cities and counties must, so when it comes to the Colorado Low Energy and Carbon Code, cities and counties must adopt this code or a more stringent version of this code when adopting or updating any building code after July 1st of this year. Essentially what that means is that if a city or county adopts any code whatsoever after July 1st of this year, they are also required to adopt this state energy code as well. Because of that, so for the communities that are already planning to adopt the 2024 I codes and are wary of the Colorado Low Energy and Carbon Code, we are encouraging them to consider adopting the 2024 codes prior to that July 1st date. Adopting before that date would allow the jurisdictions to move to the updated I codes without triggering any mandatory adoption of the state energy codes. Additionally, just want to briefly touch on the Colorado Wildland Urban Interface, or WUI code. As you can see at the bottom of the screen, the WUI code was formally adopted on July 1st of last year and is currently scheduled to go into effect on April 1st of this year. Given the scope of this code and the potential implications, there are still many open questions around implementation, the practicality, and applicability of it. The Colorado Association of Home Builders will be holding a meeting actually this Friday with a member of the code board to walk through the WUI code in more detail. They'll also be discussing the impacts and will include a discussion on potential legislative options to delay the implementation date to allow for more time for engagement and planning. If you would like some more information regarding this meeting in particular, please contact me offline and I can get you more details there. Okay, let's move on. All right, so who is and who isn't moving to the 2024 I codes? One of the biggest takeaways up front is that there is no single uniform adoption timeline across our region. Each jurisdiction is approaching the 2024 I codes differently with different schedules, scopes, and different amendments as well. From an industry perspective, this just means that it's especially important to understand these requirements on a jurisdiction by jurisdiction basis because assumptions that you may make in one municipality may not apply to their neighbor just down the road. So if you will look on the left side of this slide, these are the jurisdictions that have communicated to us plans to adopt the 2024 I codes. In most cases, this means that adoption is either in progress, it is under formal consideration, or is anticipated in the near term. When I say near term, I mean this year, so 2026. Planning to adopt these codes does not necessarily mean full adoption without amendments, and both timing and local modifications can vary significantly. So just to be mindful of that. And then you look into the look at the middle of this slide. These are a list of jurisdictions that have indicated that they do not currently have any plans to adopt the 2024 I codes. In all these cases, or in most cases, they are remaining on an earlier code cycle for the foreseeable future. But as always, this status can change, which is why staying up to date on this information is really important. And I'll touch on how you can do that in a little bit. On the right side of the screen, these are jurisdictions that have already adopted the 2024 I codes. For projects in these communities, you should already be designing, submitting, and permitting under these new standards, obviously subject to any local amendments that they have adopted. Even with again, just to reemphasize, even within jurisdictions that have adopted 2024 I codes, the interpretation and the enforcement of the code can differ. So early coordination with plan reviewers is a critical step in making sure that you are all on the same page. Moving on here. So this is the HBA 2024 I code tracker. To help make sense of all of this and to keep you all informed on the latest information, this is what we have put together. This is a resource that we've compiled the adoption statuses and known timelines across the region. It's designed to be very practical and easy to reference. and we will be consistently updating this document as municipalities share new or revised information. I do want to emphasize that this tracker is a living document and code adoption is an evolving process. Things can change quickly based off on a number of different factors like council action, staff recommendations, or issues with implementation. So we encourage users to treat this as a starting point and to verify details directly with local building departments when working on active projects especially. This will be posted to the HBA's website under the Permitting Committee tab. And I will be able to provide you all with that link shortly after this meeting. All right, let's move on here. So in the context of the 2024 I-codes, residential fire sprinkler requirements remain one of the most impactful provisions to housing attainability and affordability. When adopted without amendments, these requirements can add significant upfront costs to new homes, oftentimes around $15,000, depending on design and certain conditions. Because the model codes are intended to serve as a baseline, we feel that it is important for local municipalities to evaluate whether or not mandatory residential fire sprinklers make sense in their specific context. We would like to encourage municipalities to amend this section out at adoption, and that allows communities to balance their life safety objectives with the affordability concerns, while still preserving the ability for homeowners to voluntarily install fire sprinklers if they choose. We encourage municipalities to make this an option, not a requirement. So in addition to that I-code tracker, the HBA has also created a fire sprinkler tracker, essentially the same idea. Given the variability in local sprinkler requirements and amendments, this is a very helpful tool I found, and it will be available alongside the I-code tracker, and the same approach. It is a living document. It will be consistently updated and to be taken as an initial point of reference. Will be included on the HBA's website. So yeah, we are very excited to have these two documents as resources for our members and for our municipal partners to refer back to whenever they have questions on codes, who is on what, and what is going on with sprinklers, and who's potentially considering a repeal. That will be included in that fire sprinkler tracker as well. All right, and then just close it out here. Lastly, I just want to take a second to encourage our HBA members to participate in our permitting committee, the sponsor of today's webinar. Our permitting committee is a roundtable forum for discussions really on all things permitting throughout all of the many cities and counties in our jurisdiction. It allows for our members to exchange ideas, discuss best practices when it comes to working with local municipalities, and just kind of spitball ideas around. Additionally, within the permitting committee, 4 times a year, we have municipal update meetings in which representatives from a number of different municipality building departments will come in and share updated permitting timelines. They will share their code adoption schedules, which is how we got a lot of this information, and any other pertinent information that is relevant to the building industry, such as fee increases and staffing changes. So if you are interested in staying up to date on any of the information that we discussed today, permitting committee is definitely the place to do so. If you are interested in participating and would like me to share those calendar invites with you, please just email me. Or if you have any other questions in general, please email me. It is included on this slide here. And if you would like would like to just mention, if you'd like a copy of the slide deck shared here today, I'm happy to share that as well. Okay. And then, yeah, so that will wrap up today's webinar. We covered quite a lot of ground and discussed quite a few different codes. So we appreciate everyone for taking the time to join us today. And especially big thank you to Nathan and Jeff from NAHB for sharing their expertise. And now we'd like to open it up to questions. So if anyone has questions that they'd like, or if anyone has any questions they'd like to take offline, please feel free to reach out to me. But we'll open it up to the group now. Please feel free to unmute and ask away, or to submit questions through the Q&A, the chat box, and we'll get through as many as we can.
Hey, Albert, I see Tim already has a question. I'll let Tim go. I just wanted to address one of the questions in the chat. Tim, please.
Yeah, thank you. This is not technically a question, it's just a comment based on the LECC, Low Energy and Carbon Code. If you're adopting that, it's my understanding that the DOE, the ComCheck, or the res check, I should say, or ComCheck if you're doing commercial, will not work if you've adopted the LECC. And at this point, based on information that I've received from Adam Berry with the Colorado Energy Office, based on, of course, we all know about the staffing and funding issues at the national level, federal government, including the DOE. It's not anticipated that the DOE is going to update that. So if you wanted to go do the performance using like a res check, you're gonna have to do a different process to do that, which I'm getting ready to adopt the LECC. My first reading's next Tuesday night, and we're not really sure how we're gonna do that yet, but I just wanted to throw that out there for the benefit of everybody. Thanks.
Tim, is there any, thank you for that. And that's a great point. Is there any thought to then reverting back to 2024 IECC as is and taking up the MLECC at a later date when you have those resources at your disposal?
Are you asking about Broomfield?
Yes, Broomfield.
No,
okay.
We're in line. We may be the first one.
Yeah.
Which is okay. I've been the first before. So
no, if someone's going to be first. I'd like Tim Pate at the helm. But anyway.
No, my counsel is.
You're on mute, Tim.
Sorry. Yeah, my counsel is very excited to giving me the direction to move forward with the LECC. So I will, I don't know, be the guinea pig maybe. Thanks.
Hey, Albert, before you go to Kylie, just let me address one question real quick on the wildfire code from the chat. Yes, we will. I mean, I don't know what you mean by touch base, but we will, as Albert alluded to Friday at the State Association's board meeting, one of the code board members for the WRC will be providing a presentation. We plan to record that, and we will share that out to the membership and to any cities that or counties that are interested as well. So we will be touching base quite a bit more on that, especially in light of the legislation that Albert also alluded to as well, which won't be introduced until probably next month. Thanks.
All right, Kylie?
Yeah, I wanted to piggyback on Tim. Arvada is moving in the direction of jumping to the LECC as well. For various reasons. I'm right there with you, Tim. We're trying to figure out how we're going to face not being able to use ComChecks. I understand at a state level, they're working on a program that can be used for that. I also know something that has, and I'll put it in the chat, the state of Colorado has created essentially its own model low energy carbon code that's wrapped into one book with the energy code, and it's actually available on ICC right now for purchase. It won't be available till mid-January, but you can purchase it now. The reason Arvada is moving in that direction is because essentially adopting in portions and having a bunch of different amendments and having to go to 4 different code books, it becomes very complicated, not only for the community and contractors, but also for staff and training. So we are moving in that direction of 1 book to follow. And now that that's out and things are unraveling fast, and we're also figuring out there's more assistance at a state level with going towards this route, that is kind of the direction our stakeholders and council we feel is going to want to take. So just a little update for Arvada, and I'm right there with you, Tim. We're just trying to figure this out and fast as things unravel. I'll put that in the chat though for that link for that book on ICC. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Kylie.